So this is episode 50. Wow. 50 episodes. And that's pretty big. That's a pretty big accomplishment for me. I don't know about you, but for me,
for sure.
That's a pretty big accomplishment to be able to stick with something consistently. Like, yeah, for me, that's a big deal.
No, I agree. I mean, like I said, like a year's worth of podcast episodes. I've never done something, I've never like held a commitment like this aside from my like marriage, this long, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why not? I have fun. It's fun to like recap stuff, especially when it's important stuff like this past week. And in my day-to-day life, there aren't many people that get as excited as I do about this kind of stuff. So it's cool to kind of have somebody, that I work with. We can just kind of go back and forth and talk about all the new stuff that's happening in the tech world.
Yeah, I think the whole thing about everyone and just everyone having a podcast these days is kind of like watered down the idea of it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's not as, I'll never say being a podcaster was ever prestigious. Like, let's just be honest. Like, I'm not that important. I'm not that delusional to think I am. However, I do think there's something that I personally benefit from just talking about this stuff. Like, it helps me just come up with creative ideas and stuff like that. I feel like it helps, like, it just makes the overall work more fun, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It's more enjoyable. Like, we bounce off each other pretty well. All this stuff is just interesting to talk about. And like I said, like most people don't really, they don't really care about this topic, especially like I said, my day-to-day life. Everybody's like, oh, what happened with Apple? Oh, I don't get why we're getting clear icons, but I guess I'll see it in 3 or 4 months, whatever. And meanwhile, I'm over here like, you can change this and do this, and all this stuff is changing. And now my iPad is a computer, and da-da-da-da.
So what was it up until now?
It was always a computer for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so shout out to 50 episodes and hopefully another 50 down the road.
Yeah.
At
for
least.
Sure. This episode of 9 to 5 Mac Overtime is sponsored by our friends at BitWarden. Stay tuned. We'll talk more about them in just a bit. All right. So last week we haven't talked since WWDC. Like, what did you think about the show in general? Like, what was your takeaway from that? After it's been a week, you have time to digest it. What's your takeaway?
My takeaway was that it felt a little bit more like classic Apple, right? They came up on stage, they addressed all the lack of Apple Intelligence stuff, sort of, they kind of like washed over it, but did mention it. And then from then on, it was just like, what's new, like software-wise? And it was kind of like the first time, I want to say in 2 or 3 years, that it was kind of exciting to see all the new stuff, because a lot of it was visual changes, some functional changes, but it was just it was nice to then, after the fact, download all the betas and then start playing with all the new stuff. Versus I feel like last year there was a big I didn't have that feeling last year. It was very Apple Intelligence focused, and not a lot of it was available when it first started with the betas. So this time around it was like a lot more tangible of an event, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
It was more fun.
Yeah, I that's basically mirrors my thoughts. I thought this year stuff actually shipped, and pretty much everything they showed was. I'm trying to think if there's something that was waiting till later. Is there? There may be a few things, but the majority of the stuff is just right. It's available on day one, which is pretty cool. Like that's nice. So obviously iOS, macOS, iPadOS, watchOS, visionOS, all those got major updates. I have always thought granted, Apple's a multi-billion-dollar company, right? We know that
for sure,
and they have unlimited resources essentially. But I still find it impressive that they're able to ship major updates of 5 platforms all at the same time. And a lot of these updates, there's a lot of overlapping features and stuff, and these teams are working together to provide this. I think it's an impressive feat that they're able to pull this off time after time after time after time after time. Shout out to Apple on that.
Yeah, if you take a step back and think about how hard that probably is, the amount of nuance and specific individual changes on a per product, per hardware, per update basis is kind of insane. And all the supported devices that they still have, and I'm sure each one of them has their own kind of version of something that needs to get done, but it's still got to work the same way. It's very impressive.
Think about
did
the project management that goes into this.
Man.
Like that's just blowing my mind. Like managing, like, because it's one thing for me to do a video and talk about the top 100 features or whatever, right? But there's way more than that under the hood, and you just think about just the not even implementing the changes, but just the oh, here goes my camera again. Let's stop that.
It's still good. It's working.
Yeah, I know. But so anytime I do a certain gesture, it wants to turn on AI mode, which is super annoying.
Oh, wait. Is it the, which one you got working? You got this guy?
Yeah, I got this guy. Yeah.
I just got this one today.
Yeah.
So we'll crack that open tomorrow.
Yeah, it wants to turn on AI mode. So, but yeah, it's like, think about the massive amount of planning that has to take place. You could just imagine the Gantt charts or whatever they're using for project management. It's got to be crazy deep.
Insane.
Like their project managers are probably underpaid for sure.
Oh yeah, just like organize that all and get it ready to go, and then. Whew. But again, yeah, there's a ton of features that came out, and this is one of the more exciting ones. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm still having a week later. I'm still having fun, especially with iPadOS, of course. So I mean, I don't know where you want to start.
I'd say let's just talk about iPadOS because, and we can talk about other features too because there's a lot of overlap there between the platforms. But by and large, I think the consensus is iPadOS is the star of the show for this year's updates, no doubt.
I think for the first time since 2018, maybe ever.
Yeah, I mean, that's arguable. But this is hands down, far and away, the biggest update to iPadOS that we have seen since they separated the two platforms. Like, this is the biggest update to the iPad software, period, full stop. No doubt.
It definitely, they're blurring that line more than ever when it comes between, especially like the entry-level Macs, the MacBook Airs of the world and the Mac Minis of the world. They're really blurring the lines in terms of what it feels like, what it looks like, how everything kind of feels from a UI perspective, and also just like what's possible on each one of these, right? When you're comparing the Mac OS and iPad OSs. So I was very excited. The biggest one, you have all the new windowing systems, the ability to have up to 12 different apps at the same time, the new like traffic, red, yellow, green. I don't even. How do you even categorize that? Like, what's that called?
Traffic lights.
The traffic lights to kind of help manage those windows. File system got revamped. Finally. So I mean, what were your initial thoughts once you downloaded that thing?
My initial thoughts is the sky's the limit. Like this is really cool to be able to finally feel like, because the hardware has always been way ahead of the software for the iPad. Now it feels like now we're finally getting some parity there to where the software may be able to live up to the power that this thing possesses. With that all being said, I will say that it's taken me a little while to get used to this. Like I kind of miss some of the simplicity, to be honest with you, just from the initial like learning curve perspective, because I was trying to have two windows side by side. And I know you can do that easily, but I miss slide over, to be honest. I miss slide over. I kind of miss split view. Just having the functionality or the methodology to get into those different modes, so to speak, was I had the muscle memory down. So I'm not necessarily saying that this is better or worse. I'm just saying it's taken a while. There is a significant learning curve, I think. And to Apple's credit, I mean, you don't have to use this mode. You can just use easily just one app at a time. You can turn the multitasking off. But it's a pretty steep learning curve. Wouldn't you agree?
No, for sure. And I mean, that's the video I'm working on literally right now. Whereas, because there's a lot of new gestures that you have to learn, kind of like everything's familiar, but it's still very different in terms of how you navigate the operating system and the difference between going with traditional mode versus this new windowing mode. And then somehow there's still Stage Manager involved if you really want to get that nuance into it. So my whole video coming up is my iPadOS 26 setup and all the different little things that I think are the most important that most people should know, like the top 10 things between navigating the windows, knowing the different gesture controls, how to kind of maximize Spotlight on iPadOS 26, because that's a huge one right now, and then also just the file system. So even though it's familiar and it still feels like an iPad, there's still a lot. It just feels like a completely different device, honestly. When I installed iPadOS 26, it felt brand new.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, like that's a good description. It is so utterly different and just pretty much every facet of just management, app management, that there is a learning curve there for sure. There's plenty of opportunities for tutorials and stuff like that. That's no doubt.
Yeah. And just one quick feeling that I wanted to throw out there when you kind of mentioned that there is a learning curve. There's still something that feels weird about having so many windows open on the iPad screen, and I don't know what it is. Because I have the 13-inch iPad. It's the same size as the 13-inch MacBook Air. But something about having, 4, 5, 6 windows open on the iPad versus 4, 5, 6 windows open on Mac OS still feels weird. And I don't know what it is exactly. I can't really put my finger on it. Maybe you kind of feel the same way, but it works a lot better than it used to, but it still looks and feels weird.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, I was trying to figure this out as well over the weekend. Like, there's something about, because we have the menu bar now. I think part of the thing is that, like, is the menu bar always displayed on iPadOS?
The top one? No.
Yeah.
It's
I
not.
think that plays into it a little bit. Like, I know you can hide the menu bar on Mac OS and stuff like that, but I think that sort of plays into the
I can see that
fact that it's a little bit unwieldy feeling.
That's the one part that feels just like pasted on. It feels a little bit out of place. And so far, the 1 week that I've been using it, I haven't really found a need to use that menu bar, taskbar, whatever you call it.
Yeah, I think I'm still trying to figure out the workflow, put it that way. Like, first initial glance is it does feel a little bit pasted on, but it's definitely a necessity, in my opinion, in order to really get the most out of a windowed operating system.
And it'll get there. This is still beta 1. I'm sure people are putting in stuff in the feedback. I have. I know a lot of people are begging for slide over back. Everybody keeps saying, throw it in the feedback app, throw it in the feedback app. But again, I think overall, iPadOS is definitely a net positive in the right direction, at least for the people like myself who have been just like big adopters of the iPad. And I mean, there's magical things that are like finally unlocked, like being able to decide your microphone straight out of Control Center. Like something I remember I used to have to like guess when I would plug my microphone directly into my iPhone and be like, hopefully it works this time. You know what I mean? When you're recording. So something as simple as that, or like yesterday or Friday, I was exporting a video and I remembered, oh wait, I could leave Lumaf Fusion and like do something else instead of just wait there. Something so simple, and it works, and it hasn't crashed out on me or anything yet. So overall, big fan of iPadOS and all the new updates. And I think it'll just get easier and easier as people kind of get used to it.
I guess I'm just tripping, man. I thought I saw, maybe it's because I'm in Do Not Disturb. I thought I saw like a live activity when I was exporting in Luma, because I tried Luma, or maybe it was Final Cut I tried. I can't remember.
I think it was Final Cut.
Okay. Is it Final Cut?
Because the first time I tried exporting in Luma, I looked for that animation, that live activity that Apple showed off, but it's not. Luma doesn't have it yet.
Okay,
I'm sure they'll add it to whenever they do the public release of their 26 version.
Maybe I'm just remember the keynote. Like, that's probably what it is. Yeah. Okay.
No, for sure, and that'll be helpful because right now, when you do leave, you're hoping it doesn't crash out in the background, and it hasn't yet, which is nice, but. I think that's I'm sure all the applications that do have some sort of rendering or export will have a live activity that'll give you time.
Yeah, that is, background exports are huge. Because it's like, that was one of the huge things that separated the Mac from the iPad as far as like getting real so-called work done. Because when you would export a video with Lumaf Fusion or with Final Cut, you had to stay in that app. The only thing you could do is have a slide over window, I believe. Yeah. Or if
you can kind of be in Stage Manager, but even then it was still
a little wonky. That app had to be front and center either way, whatever you did. But now you can actually just put it to the background. Yeah. Do something else. Work on your thumbnail or whatever if you're doing a video. Work on an article or whatever. and that's running in the background. And then they're going to have that live activity to let you keep tabs on its progress as well, which is cool. Yeah. That right there is major, because it always felt like, I mean, it didn't feel like real multitasking. Like it wasn't like you can't, if I can't like export a video in the background, then this is not really on the same level as Mac OS. Like you can't really compete there.
No, and I agree. I mean, now that we can do that, it's a lot of these little things where we had window management sort of with Stage Manager, and now it's a lot better and nicer, but it's like those little things that have made the workflow just that much more quote unquote professional, and like being able to get real work done. And like another big one is adding folders to the dock. Insane. Something so simple. So now I added my download folder and I added my iCloud desktop folder. So whenever I export something out of Affinity Photo for a thumbnail, or whenever I need to save something, it goes into that folder so I can access it on any device. And it's just right there in a little fan view, or even the grid view if you want, on iPadOS, which is something I'd never thought I'd see.
Yeah, that's a big deal for sure. This episode of 9 to 5 Mac Overtime is sponsored by our good friends at BitWarden, the trusted solution for password, passkey, and secrets management. BitWarden empowers individuals and businesses to take control of their digital security with tools that make managing strong, unique credentials simple across all your accounts and devices. Whether you're logging in on a desktop, a web browser, iOS, Android, even Apple Watch and Vision Pro, BitWarden makes it all seamless and easy. With features like enterprise SSO integration, end-to-end encryption, and secure autofill capabilities, BitWarden helps protect you from phishing attacks and data breaches no matter where you are. And if you've ever abandoned logging into an account simply because you forgot the password, trust me, you're not alone. According to the BitWarden World Password Day survey, over 55% of people say they've done the same. And 60% of people report that managing a password is between somewhat and extremely stressful. The good news? BitWarden helps to solve that and eliminate that stress. They offer options like biometric unlock, secure password sharing, and the ability to create, manage, and autofill credentials, identities, and even payment info across all your devices. It even supports password creation, passkeys, and secure sharing. And that's all while maintaining zero-knowledge encryption. Check out the BitWarden Password Manager by clicking the link down below in the description, or just visit bitwarden.com for more details. Special thanks again to our friends at BitWarden for sponsoring this episode of 9 to 5 Mac Overtime. Oh, here's another major thing in Files app.
Tell me.
The ability to resize like the list view, like resize the various elements, like for instance, date modified. You can actually drag and
move that the little over. Separator, the column separator.
That's major. Like this little stuff like that. It's like death by a million cuts with previously with the iPadOS. Like you couldn't do stuff like that, and it just slowed you down.
Yeah.
Right. Like so now being able to drag those over, it seems like it's such a little thing, but it's such a huge convenience to be able to see like information, pertinent information about your files as you're sorting them in a list view. And then the ability to have nested folders and have disclosure triangles to open up those folders and not have to like launch into a folder. Yeah. And then that's another thing that just slowed you down. So now to be able to have the list of folders with that disclosure triangle and be able to see the full path of that folder is just
it can't be things.
It can't be overstated how handy that is. Like it cannot be overstated as far as like workflow and just being able to work quickly.
I mean, that's what the key is, I think. Just like making it as efficient as possible. Whereas like before, for the most part, you could always get from point A to point B on iPad. It was just like you were taking so many extra steps, and the route was always different.
It was like taking the streetway versus taking the highway.
Yeah, and now we're getting onto like that middle tier, or we're getting closer to the highway speeds for sure on the iPad. Yeah, and it's nice to see. It's nice. It's like I think I tweeted out. It's like it feels like my kid is all grown up, and now with the iPad, That's hilarious. I'm trying to think of other little things that I've been noticing with the iPad. I mean, I got a new pencil tool. I haven't really played with that in the Notes app for like calligraphy. The windowing system has just been the best for my workflow.
So describe the windowing system for those that kind of.
So the windowing system is as close to you can get to the traditional Mac OS windowing system, but it still feels like it was made for iPad. I don't really know how to
Made for
describe it.
touch.
Yeah, it's still made for touch, where even though now you have like the traffic lights to X out, minimize, and enlarge, or even tile, there's the touch points are still made for touch, where like if you tap it, it gets bigger, so it's made for your actual finger instead of a pointer. But long story short, you can actually resize windows completely to pretty much any size, all the way up to full screen, and make them really tiny. There's no like predetermined sizes like there were with Stage Manager. You can have up to 12 different apps open. I mean, pretty much infinite apps open, but 12 different windows open at the same time. You have different ways to view it now. So you have like the expose mode and multitasking mode to be able to see which windows are open. You have the quad box for the tiles. You can do 3 windows side by side. You still kind of have split view. I know people are saying the split view's gone. It's still kind of there.
But it's the tile, like, right?
It's the tile. Yeah. But there is a new like touch gesture where you can grab the windows and like throw them to each side, and it will automatically go side by side.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you still have the little middle kind of like indicator to move it back and forth to resize them.
Yeah. So
in my opinion,
split view.
The only thing that's truly gone is slide over.
Yeah, slide over is definitely not there.
Completely gone.
That was one of the first things I look for because I use that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's I don't think Apple, I don't know if they knew how much, because there's so many people complaining about, iPadOS is so dumbed down and not powerful. But that is one of the aspects of the old iPadOS that was really good. And I hope they do bring that back, because that's just so handy just to quickly be able to view something and just get it out of the way.
And then another big one that they got rid of that people used, I didn't really use it, but it was we swiped through the home bar between. So if you had like a few different, a few different like split views, you could swipe between them. That's gone also.
That's another thing that I wholeheartedly miss.
Yeah.
That is,
I know Ryan misses that. Shout out one of our writers, Ryan, a fellow iPad user.
Yeah, that was a really good gesture. I use that all the time too.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a windowing system. Like, it's like you'll get into it and it'll be very familiar. The cursor is now a pointer instead of that little circle that we had before. Which is, again, something that I didn't think I would want or care about. But now having like an actual pointer where you can kind of get real in there makes a difference, especially now that the touch targets are technically a little bit smaller, especially when you are using the Magic Keyboard and trackpad. But it'll be familiar. Everybody will be aware of it. You'll know how to use it. It still has like a lot of elements of regular iPadOS, but it's bringing the good of Mac OS, and I'm happy that this moment has come, honestly. But it's still iPad apps though, so we still have to wait for developers to really get involved if they want to make it a little bit more pro level. Because even though everything is resizable and visually it looks better and it looks like it's going to be more so like Mac OS, if an iPad app is dealing with a restriction, that restriction's still going to be there.
Yeah. One thing I'll say, Lumaf Fusion, man, they're ahead of the curve, because their app runs on an iPhone, runs on iPad, and it's like resizing this thing is just smooth as butter, man.
It's crazy how well it works. No hiccups whatsoever.
Smooth. At all.
Watch, now the next one's going to mess up completely. But even on the first day, I was still exporting videos and worked perfectly. No issues.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy with it, man. I'm happy with the update in general. There's a whole lot more stuff to talk about, obviously. I am going to lock myself in a room and use this thing like crazy for the next week. And I'm also going to be using Mac OS a lot. And so I'm really going to, I feel like I'll have much more to say about this in the next episode for sure.
Yeah.
But so far, so good.
You'll have fun. You'll have fun with it. And the last thing I do want to mention with iPadOS 26 is the list of supported devices is insane. Like we all thought this was going to be like a pro level feature. The iPad 8th generation runs the same windowing system that the iPad Pro does. So you can find one of those for like $100 used somewhere.
Same amount of windows?
I don't know if it's the same amount of windows. I mean, I haven't physically tested it, but people have said that if your iPhone or your iPad supports iPadOS 26, you'll get the windowing system, you'll get Stage Manager. The only thing that you'd be missing from a multitasking standpoint is extended monitor support. That's what it looks like.
Okay.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
So always good. The more supported devices, the better.
For sure, man. And I'm looking forward to testing out the cameras functionality and the microphone stuff. I really want to like try to make the so-called best iOS 26 setup, which I know you have a video on. So
iPadOS 26. iOS
yeah, iPadOS 26. Yeah, that's
yeah.
And then you have a video on that.
My goal is to I mean, probably we should do it too. Our goal would be to record one of these episodes fully on the iPad because I'm still using Mac Mini for this.
Yeah, I tried that and I wasn't able to get it to work on this, but I'm still going to stick to it because that's another cool thing is that you have local recording too, which is really, really nice. And that's one of the reasons why we use Riverside to record this podcast because it does a local recording in the background. So you have obviously this recording, but it's kind of a low bit rate sort of thing. But then you get the full recording that's recorded in the background that you can share and upload, and then you have a higher quality recording. So I'm definitely looking forward to trying that out too.
No, for sure. Now, what did you think of? Have you played with Mac OS a lot? What are your thoughts on Mac OS compared to iPadOS?
I played with it a little bit. I'm going to play with it a lot here as soon as I get off. But it's good. I was impressed with the Spotlight updates in particular. I think because I use Alfred as a launcher, and I use that for like keyboard shortcuts, and I use it for copy. What is that? Your copy and paste clipboard manager.
Yeah.
So that looks impressive. I'm looking forward to putting that through its paces here in a few, but so far so good with Mac OS. It has, obviously it's bugs and whatnot. It's actually pretty buggy compared to last year's update. But so far
this is
so
the first
good.
time I've installed like a beta on Mac.
That's one thing I never recommend that people install. Now, I do recommend if you're going to install the beta, just add another volume. Add another volume to your drive, and then that way you can install it on a separate volume, so you're not messing with your main volume. But I was dumb and didn't follow my own advice. So
and jumped in fully.
Yeah.
What I am noticing is that there seems to be like, even just like visually, a convergence. A convergence between all the operating systems.
Oh yeah,
they're looking more and more the same. With every iteration,
and that crazy. Was purposeful. I think more so now. I mean, even they said it in the keynote. It's like, the design language is shared among, even like tvOS. Like we're getting the same. So this is all sort of inspired, I guess you could say, by Vision OS.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the operating systems from Mac OS to Watch OS are looking more and more similar.
No, agreed. And I guess what are your, we haven't even talked about that. What is your thought on the liquid glass? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Man, that's a whole nother episode. I'm telling you, because I do have a lot of thoughts on that. I do, and I shared them a little bit on my iOS 26 initial walkthrough, and it's beta. I can tell you that it's beta.
It's beta.
And it's just like, I think they're going to dial it back. I think they're going to have to dial it back because I think
they
legibility. Yeah, well, yeah, they already did. Yeah, speaking of that,
slightly, but yeah, they did already.
Yeah, but I think they're going to have to dial it back more. It's too transparent, and it's a little difficult to read. It's a little difficult. The legibility is definitely a concern. It's just, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, it's a beta. They put that out there, and now they can sort of massage it into what it will be at the end when it launches. We've seen this before. This isn't anything new. iOS 7 was a radical departure. I remember the fonts were really hard to read on iOS 7 initially, and they dialed those back too. So I think they're going to get their fair share of complaints and things of that nature they already have. And I think Apple's going to be listening. They're not going to ship something that is, impossible to read or to use. So,
no, agreed. I've like forced myself into using the glass icons on here just to kind of see if I would get used to it eventually.
I have not. I have not gotten used to it.
Me either, man.
Everything looks the same. Like,
it kind of feels like you put that like a monochromatic filter on there so you use your phone less or something. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like. And like
I have problems finding where the apps are that way. Like it's
Yeah.
hard for me. My brain, it's like everything looks similar. So I don't know. It's hard. It's hard for me.
And like I kind of get why they went with this look, because it, you know, glass emits, because I don't know, I feel like Apple's always been like a fashion-y design tech adjacent brand, and they're all like, our products look expensive compared to the competition, quote unquote. So like if we make it glassy, glass looks expensive. It's like crystal. I don't know. I feel like they were trying to make it look expensive from a software perspective, and I'm like, this feels weird. You know what I mean?
I commend them for taking a risk. I do.
Yeah.
Like I think it's cool that they're willing to go there,
Yeah.
to take that risk. But I also think as long as they are cognizant of user feedback and they are realistic and they are willing to dial it back, I don't have a problem with them shipping what they shipped and Beta 1. I don't think it's a big deal, honestly. But I do think they need to massage it to get to the point where it's ready to use.
No, agreed. And then also, if you don't like the icons, you can always just switch them back, so it's not that big of a deal from the icon perspective. And, you know, Control Center, they've already, like I said, they've already updated Control Center to give you a little bit more blur in the background, to add contrast. I mean, people will get used to it, I think. They'll dial it back a little bit so it doesn't look like as crazy as it did from the get-go. And just little by little, I'm sure apps will adopt it.
Shout out to Apple. Shout out to the engineers. They worked really hard last week. Last year, the year before. Like, because we know these things have been planned out way ahead of time.
Yeah.
So,
have you tried VisionOS at all or no?
No.
Yeah, me either. Although that cool, like the persistent stuff, like being able to kind of like put wallpapers or a clock on your wall and know that it'll stay there. I feel like that's I've seen a lot of memes of like a tech or like a coder's dream. Like you walk in, it's just like a mattress in their apartment, but then you put your Vision Pro on and it's like fully decorated. You know? So I think that's funny.
Now we just need like to be able to feel and touch the stuff that's in our room. Like if you have like a couch there and actually be able to use it. That would be really great. But now you sit down, you're just gonna fall on the floor if there's nothing.
I know people are getting confused for sure. And then there was one other piece of VisionOS that was the personas. That's what it is. The personas did look better.
Way better.
Yeah.
That looks super impressive. Like, so maybe my face would actually not be scary this time because like
the first go around was rough.
Was rough. Yeah. But
so
one last thing though. What do you think about? And this is sort of VisionOS adjacent. What do you think about the Spatial Photos feature in iOS?
I think it's sick. I'm a very big fan of it.
Yeah,
and it works with old pictures too. As long as there's like a not even a clear, like a decent foreground and background. Yeah, it does good work for sure.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
It looks great on lock screen, looks great within Photos app. It's sort of like just that VisionOS thing where you could convert a regular photo into a spatial photo. Obviously not as immersive, but still pretty immersive.
Yeah. Like they did a great job on like a 2D screen.
Yeah. It looks cool. So.
And it works with anything. It works with people, but also just like objects that you hold in your hand. Like they did a really good job with that. And I guess, that's another reason why I would want to kind of try the Vision Pro again. See how much more immersive the spatial photos and videos have gotten on there. You know, that's a very cool feature. So a lot of like fun small things. Obviously like the visual change is nothing functional. It's just like it's different. It's subjective. It's Apple flexing their like physics in UI muscle, I guess, with the glass and how things like conform around the glass and they try to make it look realistic. But then again, like we said in the beginning, I think iPadOS was the star of the show for the first time in a very, very long time.
No question about it.
And I'm very happy about that.
Yeah. So we will be back with more to talk about, a lot more to talk about. So stay tuned to that. Also, I want to dedicate this episode to Daisy, my cat.
Shout out Daisy. 19 solid years, baby.
All right, man. Okay. I'll see you the next time, and we'll have lots more to talk about.
Yeah, let's do it. We still got to talk WatchOS, tvOS, VisionOS, a lot of goodies. So stay tuned, everybody.
Talk to you later.
Peace.
Peace.